Did Kongo Spirituality, did it survive in the United States? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. That's Boo Fam. Peace and blessings. This is Derric Moore. First of all, I want to go ahead and say thanks to all you who went ahead and sent out those Earth Day wishes to baby girl. She had a blast yesterday. It was the first time, since they had the whole COVID thing, that all her cousins had all got together. Okay, and we're talking about a couple of generations, and they all were in that same grouping. So her little sleepover birthday party and everything went well. Just got back from the store, had to go get some roses for the little girl. Well, some flowers and all that kind of stuff, because her actual birthday is today. So I want to go ahead, like I said, thanks again. I've got a lot of requests that came out. People are asking about the Kongo spirituality. And whenever I go ahead and I approach this subject, it's kind of delicate. And the reason being is because there are actual areas where the Kongo spirituality, it survived pretty much intact. For the most part, like I said, Cuba is one of the main places that it survived. In Brazil, it survived, okay? So the whole Palo tradition, the whole Palo religion in Cuba, I believe it's Palo Cambise and Palo Cambise, Palo Monte, and Palo Mayombe, okay? They have a whole lot of the Congo retention that basically it survived over there, okay? In Brazil, Kibanda is the main Congo, Congo religion, Congo tradition that basically survived, okay? And there's different, it's pockets all over the place. In United States, Kongo spirituality survived as well, but it's a little bit more difficult to kind of go in here and be able to pinpoint it because of a lot of things that have taken place over here in the United States. So first of all, let me go in here and let me say this, because I just got into this conversation with a couple of other people. And this is the thing that gets me about the whole woman king, but we ain't going to even go there. But when you know the truth about the history, okay, and you learn the truth, and and you don't cherry pick like they did in the woman king, and you find out what the real history is, the real history of what actually took place. A lot of us, and this is what made me feel a little bit more proud, okay, about my ancestry when I first started learning about this. A lot of us, our ancestors were prisoners of war, okay? And when you understand the fact that you are a prisoner, when your ancestor or your ancestry is a prisoner of war, it kind of lightens the load of you thinking your ancestors didn't fight back, okay? It makes you see them from a whole different perspective. And this is part of the reason why it is, if we don't understand this, it's hard for you to go in here and explain anything about reparations and all that kind of stuff, okay? And speaking of that, while we're, just real quick, okay, let me go in here and let me set this straight. Yes, it is true. I'm all for, if African countries say, hey, yeah, we need to go ahead and pay reparations, and these European countries are like, yeah, they need to pay reparations, that's all great, okay? But the reparation argument is not just about the enslavement, okay, of Africans. The reparation argument is that is occurring here for Edos is about the mistreatment, the racial discrimination, the Tulsa riots, the massacres, the redlining of the district, the systematic racism that took place in the United States. So don't get it twisted, okay? Because I see that's where a lot of these conservatives, and I'm all for some of the conservative values and everything, but that's where a lot of them are trying to push. So no. You can't escape like that. okay? Because it's in your policy. It was in United States policy, all the things that have taken place, okay? So let's put that out there, and that's it, okay? So they can't get away from that. You got to know the history about this, all right? Now, I digress. So in regards to understanding African spirituality, in regards to understanding Kongo spirituality, you got to remember the Kongo people were the first Africans that were enslaved. Well, let me rephrase that. They were the first Africans that were brought over to the quote-unquote New World, brought over to the Americas. All right. They were first brought over as indentured servants, and then later on they were brought over as slaves. Okay. The first Africans that arrived on the shores of North America came over as indentured servants, and then as time progressed, they went ahead and they basically started making anybody who had dark brown skin, they were enslaved. Okay, they basically were, became slaves. All right. So because the Kongo people were the first people, the Kongo-Angolan people, okay, were the first people to the first Africans to be brought over to North America. They were the ones that established a foothold for the spiritual tradition that we have. Okay. Now, the thing about the Kongo spirituality, and this is part of, let me not go there. Kongo spirituality was not a universal practiced religion that existed amongst the Kongo and Angolan people. Okay. From my understanding, this is the reason why you can go to different areas who practice the retention of the Palo, or of the Kongo traditions that exist, and you find variants of it. Okay, you find variants even amongst them. Okay, and you can kind of say it's like denominations or whatever the case is, but the reason why those variants exist is because it wasn't universal. It wasn't like a it's not like like everybody went ahead and they practice, like Christianity is. Christianity has all these different denominations and everything. If you go ahead and you say, okay, well, for instance, you're a Catholic, well, they all believe in a certain thing. Okay, that's kind of how Kongo spirituality was before it was brought to the Americas. For the most part, everybody, the ancestors were the ones who were basically, they the ones who ran the show. Okay, they were from, how do you put it, from a Christian perspective, they were the Jesus. Okay, you went to your ancestors for everything. Okay, your ancestors went ahead and you went to them for everything. All right, the reason being is because in Zambian-Pugo, the supreme being was very remote. To this day, still remote. Okay, the power exists there. The supreme being granted power. The supreme being granted all kind of things, but you have more of a relationship with your ancestors. Okay, you have more of a understanding and dealing with your ancestors, and that's the reason why it was real easy, because of it not being unified and everything. It was real easy when the Portuguese came over and they brought those missionaries. It was very easy for a lot of people to go in here and convert to Catholicism. Okay, and that's what you have to understand. Everybody was not forced into Christianity. Okay, everybody wasn't forced into Christianity. That might have happened to some places or some areas or whatever, but it wasn't the norm for a lot of Africans. Okay, and it definitely wasn't the norm. It definitely wasn't the case for a lot of Kongo people. Okay, Kongo, in the Congo, Christianity was practiced for at least, close to about 100 so years or so. They already had become priests and everything. They converted to it, and part of the reason why they did the conversion was because to go ahead and unify all of the religious, the religious sects. Okay, it didn't work that way. It didn't come out that way, but that was from my understanding, That was one of their ideas, one of the reasons for why they did that. Okay? Now, so when the Africans come over, or the Africans are brought over, those who were brought over to the United States, or brought over to North America at that time, like I said, they established a foothold. The ancestors are the main, are the center point of Kongo spirituality. But then by this time, when these Africans, when the Angolans were brought over to North America, many of them are already familiar with Christianity, if they weren't Christians themselves. Okay, so that's where you get the Kongo Cross. Okay, the Kongo Cross basically it expresses the whole spirituality along with including Christianity in it. It wasn't brought by the Christians. Okay, this already existed. Okay, so when they bring this over to North America and they establish this foothold, and you have at the bottom of the Kongo Cross the whole idea of rebirth. Okay, when it wasn't the first Great Awakening, but around the second Great Awakening, this is when a lot of black people in North America started converting to Christianity. Okay, now again, they tried to go ahead and convert and tried to force Christianity on the Africans and the enslaved Africans that were here in North America. But remember, North America got that whole racism thing. Okay, and one of the things that took place was that they did not want, because this had already happened, they didn't want the enslaved Africans start thinking that their salvation, their freedom from sin, meant freedom from slavery, freedom from bondage. And that's the reason why they stopped it. Okay, so there was some Africans and early African Americans who were forced into the whole Christian thing, but it wasn't a whole lot of them for that reason. Okay, and that's the reason why it wasn't until, like I said, the second Great Awakening, I believe it was like between the middle of the first and second Great Awakening, that's when they started doing the conversion process. That's when they did the conversion, okay, it was a lot of the enslaved Africans, they voluntarily converted over. Okay, so when they converted over, where did they convert to? They converted to Methodist and the Methodist, and it was the Baptist. Okay, the same, basically where most black people are right now. Okay, the whole apostolic or Pentecostal and all that kind of stuff, that's just offshoots. Okay, and that also deals with the Kongo spirituality. All right, now most historians don't want to talk about this, and anthropologists, they don't want to talk about it. I don't want to say they don't want to talk about it, but part of the reason why they don't talk about this is because they try to go ahead and understand African spirituality and Kongo spirituality and African American spirituality as it only took place in North America. They don't go to Cuba because they don't speak Spanish. Okay, they don't go to Brazil because they don't speak Portuguese. Okay, but if they were to go to all these different places, what they will find is all those retentions, all those things, the bottle trees and everything that exists over here in North America, that black people been practicing over here in North America, same stuff exists over there in Haiti, exists in Cuba, it exists in, like I said, it exists in Brazil. They do the exact same thing, okay? And they don't, like I said, for whatever reason, they won't really go in depth about that, okay? And this is part of the reason why we have to do our own research in this. All right, we got to stop depending upon other people to go in here and tell us what is us and who we are and what we should celebrate. Okay, now once you go in here and you do that, once you understand that, that's where Kongo spirituality is, that's what Kongo spirituality focuses on. Now you can start to see the reason why baptism, okay, baptism by water, all right, it was so important, and is still so important in most black churches, because baptism, the water represents the Kalunga line on the Kongo Cross. They're going up under, they're doing a rebirth up under there. That's the reason why they're so, that's where the spiritual connection is. Okay, there's other little retentions of Kongo spirituality that exist in hoodoo, or exist in hoodoo and root work, but again, most people don't focus on it. Most people don't know about it because of, first of all, because of the whole whitewashing thing. Also because so many people are focused on the practice, the magical practice aspect. They're not focused on the spirituality. So it ends up being, you end up not seeing it. You end up basically, it ends up being, like I said, it's ignored. Okay? But there's a lot of Kongo retention in there. Right? And because of them doing that, because of them doing this whole whitewashing thing and all this other kind of stuff, what ends up happening is that when they end up talking about hoodoo and everything, they always want to talk about, oh, well, it's just it's basically, it's because of the, it comes from the term voodoo. It's just a corruption of that. That might be the case for some things, but that's not really where it comes from. Okay. The best argument I have heard is that when the Portuguese went ahead and those Africans, before they was brought over here, when they went ahead and they converted to Christianity, they did not have enough missionaries to go ahead and convert the entire region, quote unquote, properly. So as a result, the Africans over there already started syncretizing it. And as a result, they came up with their own Africanized or Africanized Christianity. Okay, there's a museum up there in Virginia. They actually have a Queen Nzinga rosary. Okay, and this is what I'm saying. They don't talk about this kind of stuff because they don't want you to know that your people are the ones who went ahead and made this. Our people, our ancestors, are the ones who went ahead and established all of this. Okay, they don't want us to get back into this. All right, now, like I said, they went ahead and they converted to Christianity, but they didn't have enough missionaries. So as a result, the Africans went ahead and they Christianized it, okay, or they syncretized it and made an Africanized or African synchronization of Christianity. That's what was brought over here to North America. Okay, that's the reason why the black church is very different from the white church. This is what the whole apostolic Pentecostal thing was trying to do, because they recognize that, but they're not trying to go ahead and acknowledge the African presence. So that's the reason why they came up with this whole thing with the Pentecostal thing, to go ahead and to whitewash it. Okay, so once I went ahead and I came to this conclusion, once I went ahead and I've done, like I said, I did this research, and the reason why I did this research is because my ancestors, my bloodline was like in torment in regards to all of this junk. That's the reason why some of us, when we're going here and we're going here and there and all this other kind of stuff, because our head is being torn. Okay, it's being drawn to all these different places because our ancestors are in torment in regards to this whole spirituality thing. Okay, they don't have peace. We don't have peace. They don't have peace. Okay, so when they started telling me about putting this all together, and I'm doing all this research, and I'm still learning and everything. When I'm doing all this and putting this all together, piecing it all together, what ends up happening is that it's bringing peace to them, okay? And that peace basically is bringing peace to myself, okay? And that's why now, because I recognized, and they told me, there was nothing that recognized this. The reason why our spirituality was in such limbo, because that's where our ancestors are at right now. A lot of our ancestors are in limbo. the reason why that occurred was because we lost our theology. Okay, we don't have a culture of theology. This is the reason why people go in here and you know, they focus in hoodoo. They go in here and they do all these spells and all this other kind of stuff, but they don't have any. They don't have any backbone. They don't have any spiritual backbone. You know, what's the whole point of going in here and doing a spell to get love when you're gonna lose that individual in a couple of weeks? What's the point of doing that? Okay, we don't have any theology. We lost our cultural theology. We lost our culture. That's the aspect that needed to be replaced. So that's the reason why Kemetic spirituality, the Kemetic theology, is right on point. Now, I'm not preaching this, and I'm not trying to go ahead and tell people this is what you got to do and all that kind of stuff. I'm speaking for myself, and I'm saying this is what happened for me. This is the reason why it works for me. Okay? And that's the whole point of KamTa. Okay? That's the whole point of KamTa. It's drawing all of it together. Okay? Because until you go ahead and you have a understanding of the foothold, you have an understanding of your ancestral spirituality, you have an understanding of your ancestral lineage, then basically you're not going to really understand why you have this hodgepodge spiritual tradition that you got, okay, or the spiritual practices that you're following, or whatever you're doing. You're not going to understand the reason why you're doing that. You're just going in here and you're doing it. And until you go in here and you get your ancestors in there, okay, you got to get them in there, and you got to do this healing process. Once you go in here and you go through this healing process and you get them taken care of, that's when you will notice things will open up. Okay, I promise you, things will open up. You will go, all of a sudden things will become very, very clear. Okay, you'll understand the reason why, like myself, I had to break from what everybody is talking about in regards to the whole Kemetic spirituality and start recognizing and acknowledging ancestors and spirit guides. Okay, and I think I might have been one of the first individuals who talked about practicing Kemetic spirituality and talked about spirit guides, because everybody else wasn't about that. Okay, they was like, oh, that's all this Allan Kardec, that Spiritism stuff. But Spiritism started with us. Okay, it started with our ancestors. All right, all Allan Kardec did is come back through, and basically he went ahead and came up with a systemized way of doing it so his people could understand it. But it existed already. Okay, so I just wanted to go ahead and, like I said, wanted to answer a few questions and everything in that regards. Also let you know I am writing. I'm when I get time, y'all know how it is when you got a kid. But when I get time, okay, I'm trying to go ahead and finalize this one book that just goes ahead and puts KamTa out there straight forward, that doesn't go through the whole investigation and research and all that kind of stuff. There is a KamTa, a practical KamTa that is being revised. It's still it's going through the editor and all that kind of stuff right now. So it's coming, okay? But like I said, y'all know how, if you're working with your ancestors and your spirit guides, you know how they are. They will go in here and they delay stuff. Okay, they delay stuff. There's a whole lot of stuff that I had in plan that I initially wanted it already out, and they delayed it. Okay, and I mean, I was frustrated, and then I had to step back and was like, that's looking at it from that Western perspective. You got to look at it holistically. They delaying it for a reason. Y'all delaying it for a reason. So that's what's happening. Okay, but I just, like I said, just wanted to go ahead and I wanted to drop that for you. And that be it. Okay, let you know what's happening there. If you got any comments, questions, and suggestions, again, I'm reading those. I'm going through, and I'm really taking a little time to go ahead and do that. I had to go through couple other changes, but that's coming as well. But if you got any of those, thanks for going ahead and dropping that line. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all later. Hopefully that helps y'all. Hopefully that give you a little bit of understanding of where you are and where you're, where you are and where you're going, okay? And give you a little bit of, so that you can go ahead and develop your own thing, okay? Until next time, Het's Poo. Peace.